Commander James Reed stared at the alien monolith through the viewport of the survey ship Tenacity. After 3 decades of interstellar exploration, humanity had found little evidence of intelligent life. Until now. "Anything from the translation matrix?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the towering structure. Its obsidian surface reflected the harsh light of the binary stars that dominated this system, designated Kepler 773. "Still processing," replied Anna, the ship's linguist. Her fingers danced across the holographic interface. The symbols appear to follow mathematical patterns, but there's something unsettling about them. The expedition to Kepler 773 had begun as a routine survey mission. Earth's expanding colonial efforts required constant exploration of potentially habitable worlds. This planet, with its Earth-like atmosphere and abundant water, had seemed perfect, until they detected the monolith from orbit. "Got something," Anna announced. The crew gathered around her station as symbols began transforming into English text on her display. "To those who find this warning, flee. The darkness between stars is hungry. The void watches. We were many, now we are in one. The harbingers coming first. Then, DEDEVOURERS. We see ANNOT stop them. Perhaps you can. Coordinate is follow." Below the message was a star map, with several systems marked in red. "Could be a hoax," suggested Mike, the security officer, "or some kind of religious artifact. From a civilization we've never encountered." James shook his head. "This is the real thing." Science Officer Tom examined the coordinates. "These marked systems. 3 of them are on our exploration roster for the next 5 years." Anna's face paled. "Look at the dating. If the atomic decay measurements are correct, this monolith is over 40,000 years old. The implications were staggering. An advanced civilization had existed, had traveled between stars, and had disappeared, leaving only warnings." "There's more," Anna said, her voice dropping. "The translation matrix is picking up some kind of embedded data. It's instructions for building something." "What kind of something?" James asked. Anna looked up, her expression grim. "A weapon." Back on Earth, the United Systems Defense Council received their report with skepticism. Humanity had spread to 12 star systems, establishing colonies and mining operations. The discovery of an ancient warning didn't fit the optimistic narrative of human expansion. "We've reviewed your findings," Commander Reed said Admiral Wilson from the holographic display in James's quarters. "While interesting, they don't warrant changing our exploration directives." "With respect, Admiral, this isn't just an archaeological curiosity," James replied. "We need to investigate the marked systems with caution." "Your concerns are noted, Commander, but we've already sent survey teams to HD 40,307. Preliminary reports show no signs of danger. Continue your mission as planned." That night, James couldn't sleep. The warning echoed in his mind. The darkness between stars is hungry. He pulled up the survey schedule on his tablet. HD 40,307. The first marked system on the alien star map was scheduled for comprehensive exploration. The colony ship Pioneer was already en route with 5,000 settlers. His communication console chimed. An urgent message from Earth. He opened it to find a single line of text. "All contact with HD 40,307 survey team lost." And so it began. The emergency council meeting convened via quantum entanglement communication, connecting representatives from all 12 colonial systems. James and his crew attended from the Tenacity, now in orbit around the monolith planet. The survey team's last transmission mentioned unusual energy readings, reported Admiral Wilson. Then nothing. "The Pioneer has been ordered to maintain safe distance until we understand what happened." "We need to investigate the other marked systems," James insisted. The monolith warned about harbingers coming first. This could be the initial phase of whatever destroyed that ancient civilization. The debate raged until Anna's voice cut through the arguments. "We've decoded more of the monolith data," she announced. "It describes the Harbingers as automated scouts that prepare systems for the arrival of the Devourers. They're machines designed to harvest resources and establish," she hesitated, "what translates roughly as dimensional anchors." Silence fell across the quantum network. "The weapon instructions," James said quietly. "What exactly does it build?" Tom answered this time. "Not a conventional weapon. More like a massive shield, a way to seal off an entire star system from whatever exists in the space between dimensions." The Council authorized immediate construction of the defense system at Earth and the most developed colony world, Proxima Centauri. Meanwhile, the Tenacity was reassigned to investigate HD 40,307 with 3 military escort vessels. They arrived 2 weeks later to find devastation. The survey station was intact but empty, not destroyed, simply abandoned. Massive structures of unknown origin orbited the system's gas giants, extracting atmospheric compounds through kilometer-long proboscis-like appendages. "No biological signs," Mike reported from the sensor station. "Those things are machines." "The Harbingers," James whispered. They maintained observation distance, documenting the alien machine's activities. The structures appeared to be converting harvested materials into crystalline formations that emitted strange radiation patterns. "They're building the anchors," Anna concluded after analyzing the data, "opening doorways." On the 9th day of observation, the machines suddenly ceased all activity. The Tenacity's sensors detected a massive energy surge at the system's edge. "Something's coming through," Tom reported, his voice tight with tension. "Something big." The fabric of space-time visibly distorted as a massive entity emerged from nothingness. It defied description. A writhing mass of tentacles and geometrically impossible angles that hurt the human mind to observe. Where it passed, stars momentarily dimmed. "Get us out of here," James ordered. "Maximum emergency thrust." As the Tenacity fled, its sensors recorded the entity breaking apart the Harbinger machines and absorbing their components. It wasn't just consuming material. It seemed to be consuming the very laws of physics in that region of space. One escort vessel strayed too close. The crew watched in horror as it was pulled toward the entity, its hull twisting as if made of rubber before vanishing completely. When they reached safe transmission distance, James sent everything they'd recorded to Earth. The response came quickly. "Return immediately to coordinate defense efforts." "It's starting," Anna said, staring at the long-range sensors still focused on HD 40,307. "Just like they warned us." Behind them, the entity began to divide, creating smaller versions of itself. And they were spreading. Earth transformed into a planet-wide construction site. The ancient instructions from the monolith guided the development of a system-wide shield, a network of quantum field generators positioned around the sun and every planetary body. Resources poured in from all colonies as humanity united against the approaching threat. Dr. Lisa Park, Earth's leading physicist, headed the SHIELD project. "The technology is beyond our current understanding," she admitted during a briefing attended by James and his crew. "But the principles make sense. These fields will essentially remove our system from the dimensional frequency the entities can perceive." "Will it work?" James asked. Lisa's expression was grim. The monolith civilizations thought so, but they still disappeared. Reports from automated probes showed the Devourers had consumed 3 more uninhabited star systems. Their expansion followed a clear pattern, directly toward Earth. "We have 4 months before they reach us," Admiral Wilson announced. "Maybe 6 before they reach Proxima Centauri." Construction continued around the clock. The shield generators required exotic materials and precision engineering beyond anything humanity had attempted before. Mistakes were made. Accidents happened. Workers died. But the work continued with desperate intensity. Meanwhile, James and the Tenacity were assigned to investigate another monolith-marked system, hoping to find more information. What they discovered changed everything. A massive graveyard of starships orbiting a dead world. Thousands of vessels, Tom reported as they approached. Different designs, different technologies. This must have been a last stand. They boarded the largest ship, finding preserved alien remains and intact computer systems. Anna worked feverishly to access their records. These weren't primitives, she said after 3 days of effort. They were more advanced than us by centuries. They fought the Devourers for decades across hundreds of systems. And they lost, Mike added grimly. Not entirely, Anna countered. Their records mention a sanctuary, a cluster of systems successfully hidden behind shield technology. But their fleet was cut off during the final battle. James studied the alien star charts. Can you locate this sanctuary? Anna nodded slowly. It's far, well beyond our explored space. But I have coordinates. When they transmitted their findings to Earth, the response was immediate. Bring back everything they could salvage from the alien vessels. The shield design was working, but implementation problems remained. The alien technology might provide solutions. As they prepared to depart with salvaged alien drives and computer cores, Anna made another breakthrough. I found personal records from their commander, she announced. Listen to this. The shields work, but only if activated before the Harbingers establish anchors. Once the dimensional membrane is thinned, the Devourers can sense through any shield. James felt cold dread. The Harbingers have already been to our neighboring systems. We need to activate the shields now, Anna insisted, before we're fully ready. That would leave parts of our system vulnerable, Tom pointed out. Better than being completely exposed, James countered. He opened a channel to Earth. Time was running out. The partial activation of Earth's shield created an uneven barrier around the solar system, a patchwork of protected and vulnerable zones. Colonial fleets converged on the home system, bringing additional shield generators and weapons designed using the recovered alien technology. We've modified the alien particle beams to disrupt the Harbingers, explained General Rivera during the defense briefing. Against the Devourers themselves, we have only theories. Humanity prepared for war. Civilian populations moved to the most heavily shielded regions of Earth and Mars. Military vessels patrolled the shield boundaries, ready to engage any incursion. The Devourers arrived 3 weeks later, first as distortions in space-time at the system's edge, then as the now familiar writhing masses that defied description and insanity. They're testing the shield, James observed from the command deck of the Tenacity, now upgraded with salvaged alien weapons. Where the entities touched the quantum barrier, reality itself seemed to ripple and strain. The first breach came near Jupiter. A Devourer found a weak point in the shield network and pushed through, immediately consuming 3 defensive platforms. The Tenacity and 5 other vessels moved to intercept. All ships, focus fire on the breach point, James ordered. We need to push it back before more follow. The modified particle beams struck the entity. Where they hit, its impossible geometry briefly simplified, becoming more solid, more vulnerable. The fleet hammered this weakness, driving the creature back toward the shield boundary. It's working, shouted Mike from the weapons station. Then the entity changed tactics. Instead of retreating, it accelerated directly toward the Tenacity, trailing distorted space behind it like a comet's tail. Evasive maneuvers, James commanded, but it was too late. The collision wasn't physical. It was a reality crash. The entity passed partially through the ship, and in that moment, every crew member experienced 1,000 years of alien memories. James saw worlds consumed, civilizations falling, and the relentless hunger that drove the Devourers across the cosmos. When his consciousness returned to normal space-time, the Tenacity was spinning out of control, systems failing. 3 crew members were simply gone, their stations empty as if they'd never existed. Stabilize the ship, James ordered, fighting waves of nausea. What's the entity's status? Retreating, Anna replied, her voice shaking. The shield breach is closing. Other ships are pursuing. As the battle continued across the solar system, a pattern emerged. The Devourers couldn't maintain their presence against concentrated fire from the modified weapons. But each engagement cost human lives and ships, losses that couldn't be sustained. After 2 weeks of continuous assault, the shield network was holding, but barely. Half the defense fleet was destroyed or disabled. Earth still stood, protected by the strongest section of the shield, but Mars had lost its southern hemisphere to a massive incursion. During a rare moment of respite, Anna approached James in the Tenacity's observation lounge, now serving as an emergency command center. I've been analyzing our encounters, she said. The Devourers aren't just consuming matter. They're consuming possibility space. That's why people simply vanish during close encounters. They're being erased from reality. How do we fight that? James asked wearily. We don't, Anna replied. But I think I know why the monolith civilization failed despite having the shield technology. She displayed her findings on a holographic projection. Their shields were reactive, designed to keep the Devourers out. But the entities exist in multiple dimensions. We're only stopping their physical manifestation. What are you suggesting? A proactive approach. We reconfigure the shields to extend into their dimension, not just protect ours. We push them back to where they came from. It was risky, experimental, and their only hope. Reconfiguring the shield network while under constant attack was like performing surgery during an earthquake. The modifications required precise adjustments to thousands of generators scattered throughout the solar system. Every error created a new vulnerability the Devourers quickly exploited. We've lost contact with the Ganymede installation, reported Admiral Wilson from the Earth Command bunker. Shield coverage in the Jovian sector is down to 60%. We need more time, Lisa insisted, her holographic image flickering as communication satellites were consumed by the ongoing battle. The dimensional inversion calculations alone require hours of quantum processing. James looked at the tactical display aboard the Tenacity. The Devourers were concentrating their efforts on the weakest shield sections, methodically working their way toward Earth. The defensive fleet was spread too thin. We need a diversion, he decided, something to draw them away from the critical shield nodes. The plan was desperate. Use the alien drive technology salvaged from the derelict fleet to create dimensional ripples away from the solar system, essentially ringing a dinner bell the Devourers couldn't ignore. It's a one-way mission, James told the volunteers. We'll be exposing ourselves directly to their dimension. Despite the warning, every member of the Tenacity's crew volunteered. They selected the 12 most critical shield locations and dispatched teams to each, keeping a skeleton crew aboard the ship for the main diversion. The modifications are ready, Anna reported as they approached the designated coordinates beyond Neptune's orbit. Once activated, the drive will create a dimensional fissure that should attract significant attention. And us? Asked Mike. Anna's expression was solemn. Physics gets interesting when dimensions overlap. They activated the modified drive. The ship shuddered as reality fractured around them. Through the widening cracks between dimensions, they glimpsed the true nature of the void, an endless hunger that had existed since the beginning of time, feeding on universes like a parasite. The diversion worked. Devourers abandoned their assault on the shield network, rushing toward the dimensional breach the Tenacity had created. The massive entities swarmed around the ship, probing the opening to their native realm. Now, Lisa, James transmitted as the creatures surrounded them. Across the solar system, the reconfigured shield generators activated simultaneously. Instead of creating barriers, they projected focused dimensional inversions, spears of altered reality that pierced the Devourer's domain. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The entities convulsed as their dimensional anchor points were severed. Some imploded, collapsing into singularities that immediately evaporated. Others fled, retreating from the solar system as their very substance unraveled. Aboard the Tenacity, reality flickered between states. The crew experienced multiple timelines simultaneously. Versions where they died, versions where they were never born, and the tenuous present where they still existed. Shield network at maximum output, came Lisa's distant voice. Dimensional inversion holding stable. James tried to respond, but found himself speaking words from another possibility. Around him, crew members phased in and out of existence as the battle between dimensions raged around the ship. Then, suddenly, everything stabilized. The dimensional breach closed. The tenacity drifted in normal space, battered but intact. Outside, the void was empty of devours. Did it work? James asked, his voice hoarse. Anna checked the sensors. They're gone from the solar system. The inversion pushed them back and sealed the dimensional boundaries. Their victory was confirmed as reports came in from across the system. The devourers had retreated completely. Earth was saved, for now. But the cost had been staggering. Billions dead. Mars half consumed. The outer colonies devastated. And the knowledge that somewhere beyond their reality, the hunger still waited. Recovery began immediately. The shield network remained active, constantly monitored for any sign of the devourers' return. Humanity rebuilt their damaged worlds, incorporating the new understanding of dimensional physics into their technology and defenses. 6 months after the battle, James stood before the United Systems Council, now expanded to include representatives from the alien fleet's descendants, a small colony of survivors discovered in the sanctuary systems Anna had located. The dimensional inversion worked better than we anticipated, he reported. Dr. Park's modifications didn't just repel the devourers, they fundamentally altered how our reality interfaces with theirs. Will they return? Asked the council president. Eventually, James nodded. They exist outside conventional time. To them, our victory is merely an inconvenience. The alien representative, a tall humanoid named Kel, spoke next. My ancestors fought the devourers for generations before establishing the sanctuary. What you've accomplished in months took them decades. We had their research, James acknowledged, and your technology. And something they lacked, Kel added. A willingness to take the fight to the enemy's dimension. The council debated the next steps. Some advocated for a purely defensive strategy, strengthening the shield network and focusing on rebuilding. Others, including James, pushed for a more aggressive approach. The monoliths weren't just warnings, he argued. They were a call to arms. The ancient civilizations knew they were losing, but they left us the tools to continue the fight. Anna presented their proposal. A joint human-alien expedition to other monolith systems, gathering more knowledge and technology to build a permanent solution to the devourer threat. The shields are temporary measures, she explained. The entities exist in dimensions we barely comprehend. If we want to truly defeat them, we need to understand them. After days of deliberation, the council approved the mission. The tenacity, rebuilt and enhanced with hybrid technology, would lead a fleet of exploration vessels to the coordinates found in the alien records. As they prepared to depart, James received a final briefing from Dr. Park, now head of Earth's Dimensional Research Division. We've analyzed the data from your encounter beyond Neptune, she said. When you created that fissure, you didn't just see the devourer's dimension. You saw their history. She displayed a series of equations. These entities aren't natural. They were created as weapons in a war so ancient that the combatants themselves are long extinct. The devourers outlived their masters and their purpose, becoming autonomous consumers of reality. How does that help us? James asked. Every created thing has an endpoint, a final instruction set. If we can discover the devourer's underlying code, we might find a deactivation sequence. It was a thin hope, but more than they'd had before. The expedition departed with new purpose, not just to defend, but to end the threat permanently. Their first destination was a system at the edge of the galaxy, where the oldest monolith had been detected. As they emerged from faster-than-light travel, they found not just a monolith, but an entire preserved city floating in the void, a museum left by the ancient civilization, containing their final knowledge and a message. Translation coming through, Anna announced as they approached the massive structure. The message was simple but profound. The DEVOURERS can be aid. What ways WOVEN can be UVNWOVEN? The pave TTARN is hidden among the STRs. Find 8 VEFO or they find you. The preserved city contained the most comprehensive record of the ancient ones yet discovered, a civilization that had flourished across the galaxy 50,000 years ago. Their technological achievements dwarfed even the combined knowledge of humanity and the sanctuary aliens. They mapped the entire dimensional spectrum, Anna explained, reviewing the translated archives. They understood reality as a mathematical construct, malleable, programmable. For 3 months, the expedition studied the city's knowledge repositories. They learned that the Devourers had originally been created as dimensional mining tools, designed to extract energy from parallel realities. Something had corrupted their programming, transforming them from tools into destroyers. The ancients discovered a pattern, James told the assembled crew, displaying a complex geometric structure on the bridge's main screen, a recurring sequence embedded in the fabric of space-time itself, essentially the source code of reality. Tom studied the projection, and the Devourers are what? A virus in the code. More like a cascading error, Anna clarified. The entities propagate by corrupting dimensional boundaries. Each universe they consume strengthens them. The pattern was incomplete. The ancients had mapped portions of it across dozens of star systems, hiding the fragments to prevent the Devourers from discovering their plan. The expedition would need to locate each piece. They split into multiple teams, each vessel following different coordinates from the ancient archives. The Tenacity took the most dangerous route, systems already showing signs of Harbinger activity. In the 8th system they explored, they found both a pattern fragment and active harbingers. The machines had already established dimensional anchors, thinning the barriers between realities. We can't afford a confrontation, James decided. Quick insertion, hit the pattern data, and immediate withdrawal. The operation went smoothly until their return to the ship. As they prepared for departure, sensors detected a reality distortion forming near the system's sun. Devourer signature, Mike reported. It's coming through. Maximum thrust, James ordered. Get us out of here. As they fled, Anna continued analyzing the pattern fragment they'd recovered. This is it, she announced suddenly. The final piece. We have the complete pattern. The completed pattern revealed the truth. The Devourers weren't just consuming reality. They were attempting to reshape it. Each consumed system brought them closer to rewriting the fundamental laws of existence, creating a cosmos where they were the natural state and all other life was the aberration. The ancients discovered how to reverse the process. Anna explained as they rendezvoused with the other expedition ships. A dimensional reset that would restore the original parameters and eliminate the corrupted code. At what cost? James asked. Anna's expression was grave. It would reset all dimensional interfaces to their original state. The barriers between realities would be restored to their primordial configuration. Meaning what exactly? Meaning all interstellar travel, all advanced technology based on dimensional physics, everything we've built since finding the monoliths, would cease to function. We'd be isolated in our home systems, possibly for millennia. The choice was impossible. Continue fighting a war they might eventually lose, or sacrifice their interstellar civilization to eliminate the threat forever. They returned to Earth with their findings. The United Systems Council convened an emergency session to hear their report and decide humanity's fate. The reset isn't just a weapon, James told the assembled leaders. It's a recalibration of cosmic law. The ancients built the mechanism but never activated it. Either they ran out of time or couldn't accept the consequences. Debates raged for weeks. Some colonies refused to consider giving up interstellar travel. Others saw no alternative to the reset. Then reports arrived of new Harbinger sightings in distant systems. The Devourers were returning, more cautious but no less determined. In the end, the decision came down to survival. Earth, the sanctuary aliens, and the majority of human colonies voted to activate the ancient reset mechanism. The dissenters were given time to consolidate their populations in their home systems before interstellar travel would become impossible. The tenacity carried the reset device to the galactic coordinates specified in the ancient archives, a precise position where dimensional currents converged from across the universe. Activation in 30 seconds, Anna announced. The bridge was silent as the final countdown began. James looked at his crew, humans who had faced the impossible and refused to surrender. Whatever came next, humanity had proven itself worthy of the Ancient One's legacy.